Ukraine has once again attacked a vessel allegedly belonging to the Russian Federation, to Russia's fleet. In the shadows, everything seems absolutely normal. Only in the last few weeks, Ukraine has carried out several attacks of this kind, for many of which it has already received the appropriate responses. But this attack is out of line. It's absolutely unparalleled because they have dared to attack a ship supposedly belonging to Russia in the international waters of the Mediterranean. Before, things were limited to the Black Sea, but now I repeat, Ukraine is making the strongest possible move to escalate the tension to its highest consequences. Russia was already carrying out some attacks in Odessa, but I'm very much afraid that from now on, they're going to intensify right away. What exactly has happened? Who is behind this attack, Ukraine, or could it be another country? And what kind of consequences could there be from the Russian Federation? Stay until the end of the video for this last part, because it is without a doubt the most important. Here we have indeed these images that have actually been uploaded by Ukraine itself, which is something absolutely unprecedented. Have the Ukrainians, or maybe we should ask the British, completely lost their minds in light of what's happening right now on the diplomatic front? The oil tanker that sailed under the flag of Oman and supposedly belonged to the so-called shadow fleet of the Russian Federation. It was demonstratively attacked by Ukrainian drones in neutral waters of the Mediterranean Sea, thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine. It is significant that in this case, neither unmanned boats nor long-range kamikaze drones were used, but rather a hexacopter of the Baba Yaga type. This changes absolutely everything because it means that the drone was launched at a relatively short distance from its operator, whether from another ship or from the coast of a neighboring country, which could involve a third country in this conflict. According to tracking systems, the oil tanker is located between Libya and Crete. It is also absolutely remarkable that the attack was carried out against a ship with no oil cargo, that is, Ukraine. Let's be blunt, he didn't have the guts and didn't want to upset his partners, especially the Americans, with a possible oil spill. On top of this attack that comes in the middle of negotiations, the security service of Ukraine, that is, the National Service of Ukraine, boasts about the videos recorded from different angles. However, it's perfectly obvious, or maybe not so much. You will tell me if behind this it might not be entirely the non-Ukrainian country, or maybe not the Ukrainian country at all, but rather another one of the Western partners. And here you can tell me, who do you think are the main suspects? I definitely bet on the British. And in this case, the British could even end up having a direct confrontation with Donald Trump. Before, what was the Commonwealth was somehow acting together, however, now it seems they have gone completely crazy. Ukraine has attacked in the waters of the Mediterranean, in international waters, but these are absolutely inconceivable events. They already tried to attack the Russian Federation and Turkey at the same time, which in itself also represented absolutely unparalleled events. The Russian Federation, without a doubt, will have to respond. And we'll see, I think in a very short time, within a week, what exactly they will end up doing. Odessa, without a doubt, will be one of the first targets. In fact, just a couple of hours ago, in the previous live broadcast, we were talking about how Russia was carrying out methodical attacks in Odessa. And not only that, they were a kind of surprise attacks because, yes, before in Odessa, they were targeting energy and port-related objectives, that is, the energy and port infrastructure. Now they are attacking the bridges. And here there are several theories as to why the Russian Federation might be doing this, all of them very interesting. On one hand, there's the attempt to cut off Ukraine's communication with the western part, that is, with the NATO countries, and also their allies. On the other hand, it's also an attempt to isolate the eastern part of Ukraine from the rest of the country, to complicate their logistics and also, of course, to cut off these supply routes for Western materials. But be careful, when the previous attacks took place, the Russian Federation, let's remember, ended up attacking directly in the port of Odessa, something that had never happened before. They attacked a ship belonging to Turkey, meaning it wasn't even a Ukrainian ship, but Russia went much further, drawing a very clear red line and saying, up to here and no further, I won't let you go beyond this point. What is going to happen from now on? We don't know. But the truth is that there are already several surprises that Russia could spring on Ukraine and hit them right in the face with them. We're going to see them right away, right after what's been happening lately in Odessa. A situation that, I repeat, could get worse as a result of this Ukrainian outcry, to get slapped with an open hand. Because if they think Russia won't respond to these attacks, I think they're very mistaken. Even if they don't respond directly, meaning not a few hours later, it doesn't mean the response won't come. In fact, we already saw the first one coming, and it had to do with what we mentioned here, Mirnograd, which has already fallen and is being cleared by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. In Ukraine, they will try to deny it no matter what, but this is a very clear victory. This is exactly what Ukraine is trying to cover up with these attacks on Russian oil tankers, even if they're empty. Make no mistake, things are even worse for them on the front. Impossible. The United States is forcing them to negotiate no matter what, and is going to put even more pressure on them because they have quite a few tools of pressure, quite a few instruments that could make Ukraine finally come to its senses. Zelensky, for now, is not showing himself to be very open to dialogue, and he will have to pay for it. But those who will have to pay for it, much to my regret, of course, will be the ordinary Ukrainian citizens. Here in particular, we are undoubtedly talking about the residents of Odessa. Are you seeing these bridges here that have been attacked in the last 48 hours? The 72 hours began last week when the Russian Federation started methodically attacking the bridges. In fact, the two main bridges are located in the Odessa region. Attacks on the bridges over the Dniester, Zataka and Maiki. These are the two bridges, one in Zataka and the other next to Maiki. The bridges over the Dniester, and the enemy has two in the lower course of the river, according to a Russian source. They have crucial strategic importance, a large volume of weapons and equipment supplies, as well as significant export transit. It makes currency, it also makes weapons. They pass through the Danube ports. And from these, everything can only be delivered to Ukraine through these two bridges, in Zataka and Maiki, or through Moldova, which brings many problems. Also, a few days ago, our missile launchers, aviation, and drone operators were here and here. Are you seeing the images of where these bridges are located? Is the Russian Federation currently attacking in a completely methodical way? They've already attacked the bridge in the Maiki area yesterday, last night, and today. The bridge has also been put out of service and can't be used for any serious logistics. For now, all of this has forced the enemy to make assessments. He says gathering pedestrians for significance. He says it's because of the Russian source's weakness. This scenario of, and not only a Kurso Dienstag in May kick of, is that it was expected. Iskanders directly to the Ukrainian rear, which began about 24 hours ago. And so we were pointing out that this could be a kind of Wunderwaffe, not directly, of course, but a weapon that would undoubtedly make the armed forces of Ukraine tremble. Because we're talking about something that approaches the speed of a missile, Kinzhal, and precisely this Iskander 1000, which is a kind of upgrade of the Iskander M, they are calling it the ground-based Kinzhal, meaning it's launched from the ground, and it has an unmatched speed. On one hand, on the other, it can not only reach targets much faster, which makes it very hard to detect for enemy air defense, but it can also fly much farther. That is, reaching targets that are in the enemy's rear. That's exactly where it has carried out its latest attacks, eliminating Ukrainian reserves that were going to be deployed at various points along the front. At the same time, this first surprise, which is not directly related to Odessa, could end up being directly related to the ships attacked by Ukraine in the Mediterranean. And now let's move on to something that's no less important. It's going to be a video that you and I will be translating together. The drones from the Russian Federation that are attacking targets, including targets directly in Odessa. This could be a target in Odessa, as the man speaks with a perfect resemblance. It has a modification that changes many things, and now it seems they can see even better. And not only that, but they also have night vision. It's a Guran. As far as we know, and look, this man is going to explain exactly what they have and show us where it is. The surprise from the Russian Federation, which I repeat, this time is entirely aimed at improving accuracy. And this, of course, especially if it's an attack in Odessa, it has to do with giving greater accuracy to those sources, which are indeed something like the vital artery of Ukraine. At this moment, he says apparently everything is very normal, but as for what's unusual,
A router, antenna 1, antenna 2, antenna 3.
Antenna 1, antenna 2, antenna 3.
Here it's the same, 1, 2, 3.
Another 3 antennas over there. So I imagine that the router will also be included on the other side, so it will be like a mirror effect. He says, all normal, a router with a SIM card. Nothing important. The most important and interesting part. Para. This is something like, look, this is a camera.
He claims he didn't see it, despite knowing where it was flying.
He was watching exactly where it was flying or where it was heading, and he wasn't seeing it. Not bad. Judging by this little crystal, it has a night vision scope or a thermal scope, so it's something like a heat vision scope.
So his duet, he's sure.
I mean, he goes in a very forceful or decisive way. He sometimes swears, but my translation is better without them. He says, news, they weren't expecting it, but here it is.
So that's how it is.
That's how it happens. This is basically what will allow the Russian Federation to stand up to Ukraine. Also, regarding these attacks that have been carried out in the Mediterranean. Now I understand that many people are hoping that Vladimir Putin will respond with absolutely everything. We can't take it anymore. We have to stand up to Ukraine. We have to stand up to the West. What needs to be done ultimately is to make sure the response is understood very clearly, and that they never attack a Russian Federation ship again. But in reality, that's not how it works. Let me remind you that this is a war of attrition. And here, from the Russian Federation, what is absolutely clear is that you have to be patient. These Ukrainian attacks hurt Russia economically, but Ukrainians suffer the most. Because even in front of their Western partners, for example, in front of Donald Trump, they legitimize any kind of rejection. The response that the Russian Federation might carry out from now on against targets within that country